Large parts of southern Europe are experiencing record high temperatures. About 20 cities in Italy have been put under red alert. People are being warned that the heat could pose a serious risk to their health. Rome, Florence and Bologna are among the areas affected by the heat wave. Residents and tourists have been asked to avoid direct sunlight during the afternoon. Forecasts suggest that Sicily could break Europe's record for the hottest temperatures by touching 49 degrees Celsius. Sicily set the record at 48 degrees Celsius in 2021. And we're joined by journalist Seema Gupta in Rome. Seema, Rome broke its own record yesterday by reaching 41.8 degrees Celsius. What's the situation like?
Yes, exactly. I mean, you're right on that one. It broke its own record with that high temperature. The last time it did that was just last year when we saw 40.7 degrees Celsius, but now 41.8. So we've seen a 15% increase in the number of calls to the emergency services, people looking for help. A 20% increase in people going to the hospital to get help. And of that 20%, a quarter were coming in for heat-related issues, suffering from dehydration, some collapsing. It's very intense in Rome right now, not just during the day, but also in the night where there's no respite, really. And so people are having to deal with high humidity and heat throughout the time. Italians and Romans are used to the hot weather, but this is back-to-back heat waves. And so this intensity over a period of time we've not seen for a very long time. The city has set up some 28 points throughout the city where there are volunteers on hand to hand out water to help with those that are not feeling very well. They have to do this, of course, because we've seen tourists as well, having paid all that money to travel here, wanting to continue their visit. They've been collapsing and fainting. So really getting the help where they can.
And what's the situation in the rest of the country? I believe Sicily could hit 49 degrees.
Exactly. I mean, we already saw in 2021 when a spot in Sicily saw 48.8. Now, that's the highest recorded temperature in Europe, and there's concern that it's going to surpass that. Already we saw on Tuesday it hit 46.3 degrees Celsius in one part of the island. We've also had reports of wildfires because, of course, it's very dry here, and power cuts in the regional capital, Palermo, because, of course, people are using their air conditioning, their fans and so on. And so there's a greater pressure on the energy services. Now, in different parts of the country, they're trying to deal with it in different ways. In Naples, they've also, one hospital said that they have not seen the level of people trying to get emergency help since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, to give you an idea of the situation. And yes, as you mentioned, some 23 out of 27 cities in Italy currently under red alert. And what that means is that it's not just dangerous for those who are fragile, the elderly or the sick. It's dangerous for the general population to be under such heat.
OK, important message there from our journalist Seema Gupta. Thank you very much for joining us there from Rome. Well, the extreme temperatures of more than 40 degrees Celsius aren't only hitting Europe. North America, Asia and North Africa are affected too. In some cases, the high temperatures are linked to something called heat domes. And as the climate continues to heat up, scientists are exploring ways to adapt.
Tarmac swelters in Japan, where more than 2/3 of the country has been issued heatstroke alerts. Other countries across the world, including the US, Spain, Greece and Italy, are suffering from the heat. The southwest of the US is scorching because of a heat dome. A heat dome is caused by a mass of air building up and getting trapped by high pressure in the atmosphere. The high pressure then pushes the air down. The air near to the Earth's surface is squashed and gets even hotter, and the cycle continues. Scientists are trying to find out how much heat we can handle.
An upper critical temperature has been observed in some animals, but strangely hadn't really been nailed down for human beings.
Researchers analysed a group of people resting for an hour in the mid-20 degrees compared to in humidity at 40 and 50 degrees centigrade. They looked at their physiology and metabolic rates. Spending an hour at between 40 and 50 degrees centigrade in a humid environment was enough for the majority of the study's participants to show a noteworthy increase in their metabolic rate. The metabolic rate increased in the high temperatures more than the scientists expected. Such gains can be counterintuitive.
Just at the point when the body clearly wants to be defending itself against increases in temperature, it is generating more of its own heat.
Researchers are working to find out whether this spike is dangerous. In the meantime, we can try to keep cool.
People underestimate the value of a fan. So a fan will increase the rate of evaporative heat loss by making the air immediately around one's body a little bit drier. Getting into cool water, a bath, if people have got a bath, getting under a cold shower, not too cold, getting into a swimming pool if they're lucky enough to have access somehow to a swimming pool.
It's advice these people in Montenegro have already taken.
So how intense can the so-called heat domes get? That's something I asked Karl Friedrich Schleusner from Climate Analytics in Berlin.
Well, what we are seeing is indeed that hot air is trapped in several places across the globe in specific locations. And this is then causing a formation of a heat dome where, as it was just explained, temperatures building up and get even more hotter over a series of couple of days. And this is exactly what we've been observing, leading to extreme record heat in the US and Europe, but also as far as China.
And how is it possible that it's happening in so many different places simultaneously?
The weather patterns in summer over the Northern Hemisphere in particular are connected by a Wavery band in the very high layers of our atmosphere called the jet stream. And what we do observe, and we have observed an increase in recent years, is that the jet stream kind of becomes stationary. So then it actually does exactly lead to that blocking. So a certain weather system stays in a certain place for a very prolonged period of time. And then this happens simultaneously across all the Northern Hemisphere. And that's what we've seen. That's why we do see simultaneous heat waves occurring all across the globe.
So is there anything we humans can do about this?
Well, it is a stark reminder that the climate catastrophe is very much here, and the climate crisis is something we need to take very seriously. We are now at around 1.2 degrees of warming above the pre-industrial levels, probably the warmest temperatures in more than 100,000 years on this planet. And I think that comes to show there's beyond any doubt that these heat wave occurrences are linked to human-made climate change. And if we want this to stop, we need to bring our emissions down as fast as possible and reach net zero global emissions by mid-century.
Tell me, in your line of work, why is that message not getting through to governments?
It is a mixed message. I think messages are getting through to governments. We do see action. We do see action on the ground. We also do see a lot of blockage and political games around the stringency of reducing emissions. And if anything, these heat waves now are serving as a stark reminder that physics and the climate system is nothing we can negotiate with or play political games with. But we need to act on it, and we need to act on it urgently.
And if we don't act, if there's continued inaction, what's going to happen? What's your takeaway?
Well, if current actions on the ground might lead to a warming by the end of the century of up to 2.5 degrees, well above the 1.5 limit of the Paris Agreement. And if the current heat waves are anything to go by, you could expect that at 2.5 degrees, these become ever more frequent and ever more intense. Indeed, we have robust science indicating that at such levels of global warming, there might be parts of the globe that become increasingly uninhabitable for humans because of the extreme heat conditions that may be prevalent throughout the year.
Here's a look at some other climate-related stories. Beijing has logged its 28th day of temperatures above 35 degrees Celsius, setting a new record for the most high-temperature days in a year. The sweltering heat in the capital comes as top envoys from China and the US have been holding marathon talks on fighting climate change. A town in Spain's northeast has reported a record temperature of 45.4 degrees. It's the hottest it has ever officially been in the Catalonia region. 9 of Spain's 17 autonomous communities are still on orange or yellow alert amid a heat wave which forecasters say will end by Thursday at the latest. In Pakistan, days of incessant and heavy rain have collapsed a compound wall, killing 11 people. The structure gave way in the early hours of Wednesday as workers slept close to it on the outskirts of Islamabad. 5 others were injured and taken to hospital.